What's up, everybody? This is Darren from ClefToneGrooves.com, back with getting better audio at home. And up until this point, all the videos that I've shot have talked about some of the gear as well as the software that I would recommend, as well as some techniques on how to use those things to get better results when you're doing your recording on your own. And the last video, I was really talking about that point of why it's a good idea to record your audio separate from your video, but obviously at the same time, and being able to sync it up later. So if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend going to check that out. But today I want to take it a step further. I talked about one of the benefits of doing that is when you record your audio straight into your DAW through your audio interface, how you have the tools available to you right there to process your audio and make it sound that much better. So what I would like to do today is, again, show you my computer screen, kind of a look over my shoulder, so to speak, and just talk about equalization, or in the audio world, EQ. Now, before I do that, you're probably more familiar with EQ than you realize. If you've been in your car and you've tuned the bass or the treble, then you have effectively EQ'd the sound in your car. Now, the EQ I'm going to show you today is like the EQ in your car on steroids, because it's a lot more accurate. You have a lot more knobs and things that you can turn to shape your sound that much further. So let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so here we have Studio One, the software that I've so highly recommended for everybody. I just can't say enough good things about this software. But this is an instance where I have recorded my audio separately for one of my videos, and this is the track from that raw audio. Raw meaning I have no plugins or effects loaded right now, so you're hearing this audio before it is processed, before it goes out on one of my videos. And now I'm going to play this back for you, just so you can kind of get a feel for how this all sounds without any kind of EQ on it whatsoever. To capture audio for your videos rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera to do that very same function. And then also later on, we're going to talk about too how we can take our sound quality even further with. So that there is your raw audio, and that's what it sounds like. So right away, to me, as I listen to that audio, now this may not make any sense to you, but I'm going to say right away, to me, it sounds a little mid-rangey. I hear in the frequency there, just to my taste, it sounds like there might be a little bit of a telephone sound going on there. Not by a whole lot, but just enough that, you know what, I want to go ahead and scoop the mid out a little bit, is what we say as audio guys. So I'm going to go ahead and go through my plugins. And yes, these are plugins that I talked about that I could explain to you later on, and later on is now. So plugins are different things that you can use to process your sound. One of the more common ones that you're going to use, and one of the most powerful tools you can use, is an equalizer. You saw a compressor up here earlier. That's another popular one for processing your audio. But yeah, there's all kinds of nice stock plugins that come with Studio One. And really any DAW that you get will most likely have at least an EQ and a compressor, because those are some of the most basic tools you can use to shape your audio. So in PreSonus Studio One, they have what's called the Pro EQ. So when it loads up, you've got a flat line here, nothing affected just yet. So if I was to play this audio back, it would sound exactly the same. But now with dialogue, with just the voice, one of the first things that you can do, and actually this is with any sound just about, a lot of times you don't need all the low end information. Low end meaning the low end of the frequency spectrum. So if you look here, you can see 50 hertz, 100 hertz, all the way up to 10K. And then this line up here is actually 20K, 20,000 hertz. So this represents the frequency spectrum of human hearing. So 20K all the way down to 20, just straight up 20 hertz. And again, for my voice, 20 hertz all the way up to like 70, 80, you don't really need all that information. That's just where all your bass is. So right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit of EQing there, and I'm just going to do what's called a high pass filter. Again, I don't need this information, so what this line represents is that I have just cut off a lot of the low end there. And I have it where it rolls off at 75 hertz. So that's a pretty comfortable frequency response or frequency to pick for male vocals. And sometimes you can go even higher, you can go even lower. It really just depends on the person's voice and the sound that you're going for. So let's go ahead and just play this back really briefly. You're not going to hear much of a difference in the sound of my voice here, but it does get rid of any low-end rumble or noise that might be present in the room. So here's the first way you can clean up your audio. But anyway, I'll shut up and play it back. To capture audio for your videos, rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera to do that very same function. And again, here's the the high pass filter turned off. Audio for your videos, rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera to do that turned on. Capture audio for your videos, rather than using the onboard microphone. So again, it sounds very much the same, but again, any low-end information that is not needed, you get rid of it. That way it just makes your audio sound that much cleaner. So it doesn't sound like it did that much, but believe me, it did its job, what I wanted to do. So now I talked about that telephony voice, that sound in the mid-range, right? But what I want to go ahead and do is find where that frequency is that sounds the most offensive to me, if you will, for lack of a better term. So one way that you can figure that out is by enhancing the frequency. And then what I'm going to do as it plays back is I'm going to sweep the frequency range here, right? But one other thing that I need to do is adjust my Q. So quick explanation of Q is how wide or how tight I want my adjustment to affect the frequency spectrum. So I want it pretty tight. That way I'm not affecting too much of the frequency spectrum, and it helps me narrow down even closer which frequency seems to be causing the most trouble here. So again, I've turned the gain up, and now my Q is tight, and I'm going to sweep and listen for where that mid-rangey sound is coming from. So here we go. To capture audio for your videos, rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera to do that very same function. So right there, about 574 hertz, that's where I'm finding that I feel I need to cut some of that sound out. So I'm gonna go maybe like -3, -4, right? I'm gonna bring this Q back to 1 so that it's normal. And now let's go ahead and play that back. To capture audio for your videos, rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera. All right, so now that sounds a little bit cleaner, right? So let me show you the comparison. I'll play it back, and I will just kind of bypass and turn it back on, turn it off, and let you hear. So here we go. To capture audio for your videos, rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera to do that very same function. And then also later on, we're going to talk about too how we can take our sound quality even. So again, you see the moves that I'm making here, they're not huge moves. You don't want to carve out where you're taking out like -16 and things like that, because you're not trying to really hear the effect that you're doing. Rather, you're just carving just enough just to clean up your audio a little bit. Now, if I wanted to, I could add a little bit of airiness to my voice in the higher range of the frequency spectrum here. So just to show you what that sounds like, maybe I'll just leave this one at 5K. And I'll just boost that by 2. And let's go ahead and play that back a little bit. To capture audio for your videos, rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera to do that very same function. And then also later on, we're going to talk about too how we can take our sound quality even further with the microphones that we already. So you can hear how it just got a hair clearer, right? Again, small moves, but all these small moves added up together towards the end of processing your audio makes for a really nice sound. Now, actually, what I think I want to do is, instead of doing 5K here, I want to do a shelf. So what this is designed to do is just make a bump in the frequency and it goes back down, right? So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to do 5K as a shelf. And what that means is that now instead of a bump all the way up the rest of the frequency spectrum, it's going to get lifted. So let's listen to that now. To capture audio for your videos rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera to do that very same function. So again, a nice little airiness there, a little more presence on the high end. One other frequency that seems to have that telephony sound or that mid-rangey sound on my particular microphones is right around 1K, anywhere from 900 to 1K. So I'm going to drop a little bit of that as well, -2. And so now I've made a bigger effect in the mid-range here. So now let's go and play that back. Capture audio for your videos rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera to do that very same function. Now what I'm going to do, since I've made these changes on the EQ plugin here, let's bypass the entire thing, turn it on and off, and let you hear the difference. To capture audio for your videos rather than using the onboard microphone on your camera to do that very same function. And then also later on, we're going to talk about too how we can take our sound quality even further with the microphones that we already have. Notice the difference? So there you have it. There is the power of using an equalizer when you are trying to shape your sound. All right, everybody, so I hope you enjoyed this show today, and I'll have some more tips coming for you next week. So until then, stay tuned, and hey, have a good weekend, and here's to getting better audio.